right, but this is where mommy does her work.
It says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
What it says?
Yeah, it says we're live.
Great. Good afternoon, beautiful people. It's good to see everybody. Baltimore. It's a beautiful day in Baltimore. It's a nice. I mean, the weather. The people are out. I took a walk a little while ago downtown, and folks are smiling and excited and happy. And so you guys are now rocking with the best in Baltimore's Black culture. The show about tomorrow here, where we talk about the future of the Black family in Baltimore, the future of the Black family in Baltimore. I'm one of your hosts, Jermel Brunson. I'm here with Lady Dionne, Easy Jackson, and we're so excited and delighted to have today as our guest, Dionne, Delali. They're here with us today to talk about Hack Baltimore and hopefully a bunch of the other wonderful projects and initiatives and beautiful service projects you guys are working on in the Baltimore community. But I just want to do a quick check-in with everybody now to just see how you guys are doing. What's up, Easy? How things going on your end, brother?
Man, I cannot complain. I turned 40 this week. It feels marvelous.
Hey!
Brad, say happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels marvelous. I got up and I felt like an older person today. I got up early. I got me a new mattress.
Yeah. That's grown. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's adulting. You're adulting.
Took the trash out, stood out, talked to the neighbors across the alley for a few minutes. I got laundry in the dryer and the washer right now.
Oh yeah, this is adulting Saturday for you, for sure.
Right.
A nice little adulting Saturday.
Go make market. You gotta make market.
I gotta make market at some point. It's nothing but leftovers in there, and I'm like, gotta get my major food groups in the refrigerator.
Hilarious. What about you, Lady Dionne, superstar herself? What's going on with you?
All is well. I mean, my weekend has not been as exciting as Easy's. I can't talk about all the amazing adulting. But yeah, all is well in my world. Things are moving along with the Black Arts District. Interestingly enough, I was just having a conversation about the spy plane and aerial surveillance in Baltimore. So that was a real interesting conversation. Definitely. I feel like people in Baltimore are split, right? Because you got some people who feel like crime is at such a high rate that they're willing to forego some of the civil liberty concerns, hoping that crime will be affected. And then you got other people that's like, well, policing hasn't worked, give them more technology, still won't work. So it was a real interesting conversation, but that's where I am today.
Yeah. First of all, I mean, that just threw me for a doozy. I wasn't expecting you to say anything about that. Say something else about that before we chime in with Dionne.
Yeah.
Surveillance. Say some more about that.
Yeah. For folks who don't know, essentially there's like a, rich company or person. I'm not really sure who the person is, but they have gifted Baltimore three aerial surveillance planes for 5 years. Baltimore is the only city that was willing to accept this. So we are the pilot city, right? The guinea pigs, if you will. And they're going to if this technology works. And so they started it incrementally. They started it over Park Heights. They also did the area like, Pennsylvania Avenue in West Baltimore. So those are the first two places that they dispatched the spy planes. Apparently this month they're going to dispatch all three and do the whole city. We'll see how true that is. But the goal is supposed to be that these spy planes can take large, not in real time, aerial pictures, and that can be used to interface with the shot technology. Like if a shot is fired in the city, they can triangulate on the sound and pinpoint where the individual is and respond in real time quickly. We also have the cameras. There are 800 cameras or something all across the city. Sometimes there's like 100 of them that don't work. But the point is that they're supposed to interface with all of these systems to be able to have enough technology and information to effectively decrease criminal activity, especially violent crimes in the city. And, you know, while it's free now, those planes are not going to be free forever. And if this works in Baltimore, is going to be a model that's going to be used in other urban cities across the United States. And so, again, it's one of those up in the air kinds of things. I'm not a proponent of increased surveillance opportunities for a police force that is over-resourced, over-militarized, and ineffective.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm trying to figure out what's a real end game to something like this. I mean, you starting us off right in the nooks and crannies. The spirit is already pushing our conversation. I'm excited about this. So, gee whiz. So, you know, Baltimore has long been, and you said it very perfectly, a guinea pig type of city. Of course, we know of the decades of guinea pig-like work that Johns Hopkins has done as it relates to folks in the community. But something like this with surveillance, like I see you guys making faces over there too, Delali and Dionne. Jump right on in. Like, what's your thoughts about what Breon just shared with us and our viewing audience about this surveillance? Like, that's uncomfortable for me to hear right now.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm looking at Delali and knowing that since we say that this is family, right? Let's keep it real. Delali and I are friends. He's someone that I truly have respected for a long time because he's a Black brother in the tech field. And I'm going to be honest, aside from my uncle, I haven't met a lot of them. Okay. And then to meet someone who he cares about people so much that it makes him suspicious. I don't know if you get this, like I'm born and raised Santan, Winchester. And you have to have certain defenses in working with people, right? You don't try to judge a book by its cover, but you keep intel in the back of your mind. So Delali was someone that, you know, you watch the way you watch a person, how they make moves, how they interact with people. Are you consistent? When I met you on Monday in September, at the same time I met you in December, Delali was all of those things. So when he was talking about Hack Baltimore, and was like, Dionne, I would love for you to be a part of it. You know, I know that you love Baltimore. You're good at getting the word out. We have a way to solve Baltimore's problems, Dionne, just by using the people that are here. And I'm like, damn right. I've been preaching this since before I was at Visit Baltimore. So I was responsible for marketing the city of Baltimore for 13 years of my life. And it's a position that I would tell children, I don't belong here. Based on statistics, the makeup for me to be representing a city who the part that I'm from doesn't get into the story, that's a really interesting dynamic. So Delali, you know, we sat down and the idea was, look, he is a tech thought leader, right? I'm in the space of branding and people and branding. That's community engagement. That's where I live, where I thrive, where I really do enjoy myself. So the idea was, look, how do we bridge this gap in our community as it relates to technology and innovation? And it sounded so simple. I'm like, bet I can help with this. Boom, sign me up. Man, we had our soft launch in February and I got my ass handed to me. All right, we invited all of Baltimore to come out and hear about this initiative where we are going to focus on the areas of a city that you need to be healthy in order for you to have a healthy city. So housing, education, transportation, health and wellness. I always keep forgetting workforce development and like one more, right? But you all know it's like the critical things that you need to have a healthy city.
Yeah.
So
mental health, behavioral health.
Correct, right.
Physical health, yeah.
You need these things. So the idea is, if we were able to speak to the people that are most impacted by the challenges and then involve them in the solution, wouldn't we make something that's sustainable so that we don't have to keep coming back and putting on Band-Aids? So I'm like, yes, that makes a great point. What I hadn't realized was what Lady Breon is bringing up. that to me it's like a no-brainer. Of course, technology, that's the wave of the world. If we're not there, we're not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, to be fair, I did not honestly understand how the view of technology with Black and brown people are a totally different relationship. So when we start talking about innovation, it's usually heard after a crisis, and it usually falls into public safety, which means that who you're really trying to protect yourself is from me. So you're trying to do surveillance and tracking on me, my family, and people that look like me. And there was this divide, like, yo, do not come in here talking to us about innovation and technology when it's going to be used against us. Or, to your point, Lady Breon, don't come in here and use us as a guinea pig. So you take all of our information, we sit here crying, telling you all the systemic, like, I'm gonna take you through the whole history.
Yeah.
You take this information, create something, and then you go on and you're doing something better in the suburbs. I'm like, yo, that wasn't even what we were here to talk about. It was supposed to create impact right here.
Right.
So
you're built. So what happens is there's a history of building innovation on the backs of the people and not using it for the people.
Right. Right. Go ahead, Delali. I'll talk too much. Go ahead, Jermaine.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love the comments you made, but yeah, it's part of, we talk a lot about, building things and, technology and making sure that it applies to people and for them, but not with them, right? So a lot of what we're trying to do at Hack Baltimore is how do you bring the community to the table, and let's co-create, right? Let's co-create a solution that works for the community, that works for the people. But I think the lens of technology in general, we talk about whether it be surveillance or anything. We talk about this a lot, but technology really just is an accelerator, right? It is something that whatever you're doing, it makes it a little bit faster, right? Back in the day, you'll put a letter on a horse and buggy, right? Somebody will get on a horse and deliver the mail. I mean, now you can text somebody in 2 seconds, right? And so it hasn't changed, it just makes it faster. And so when you think about technology and people making innovations, right? And so it may be happening in law enforcement, it may be happening with the police department, but it should be something that community is a part of that table and not necessarily afraid of it. I mean, think about this, right? From a tech perspective, right? You think about George Floyd, the reason why the whole world paused was because someone had a camera in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? And so technology was also used there to get the message out wide, and you got hashtags where people see what's trending and all that other stuff. And so it's something that I feel like if we lean into a little bit more, let's also use technology to our advantage to advance our issues, right? And advance things that we also care about, and not just be afraid and let other people make the advancements, but we got to be part of the table and part of that solution as well.
If you're just tuning in, this is the show about tomorrow, LTYC, from Baltimore with love. Special shout out to Morgan State University, Legacy Alliance, Mr. Richard Norman, the Afro Paper. We're here with Lady Breon, Easy Jackson, my illustrious co-host, and we're thankful to have Dionne, Joyner-Weems, Delali here from Hack Baltimore. We just kind of started, guys. If you're just tuning in, we just started. Breon just dropped a bomb on the show, for something connected to another initiative of support for the city of Baltimore that is questionable. And this show is all centered around how we can make the future of the Black family in Baltimore successful, productive, forward-thinking, healthy. And so we're thankful for our guest today. You guys keep talking about, for me, how technology innovation is realistically crucial for the constituents and residents of Baltimore. Outside of this weird stuff we're talking about now with additional surveillance, right? So in general, how does the work of Hack Baltimore align with a core value system to really impact this generation in Baltimore?
All right. So what sold me and got me really excited about Hack Baltimore was, first, let me just say, as anyone that's listening and you are a marketer or brand enthusiast, yes, I know Hack Baltimore is not the most, it's not the best name in the world, right? Because when you think of Hack, it has so many different synonyms. Like if you're from Baltimore, it's like, hack. When it actually, if you, Delali tells a story, Hack Baltimore actually came into play in 2018, right? So this was actually before I joined in 2019. It was a year in the making, but oh, what a year it was. So I mean, during that time, we had change in the administration at City Hall. So all attention was on Baltimore. Not long after that was the ransomware, which does. So you remember whenever the City Hall shut down, the water bills, everything, because they had
You
us
had to go downtown to pay your tickets. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, and I was hoping it was all going to disappear. Like I'm like, bet. So okay,
Right.
I don't owe these parking tickets no more. So that happened. So you have to. That in and of itself, a ransomware, and now you're talking about Hack Baltimore. It brings this negative connotation, like, oh, are you going to do something wrong? But the idea is that with hacking, it was able to basically break a problem apart and be able to come up with a really, innovative solution. So that's why you hear like those what do you call them? Like hack tips,
Life hacks,
right? So that was already that challenge, but the big deal, so what, was the design thinking. So that was the part of Hack Baltimore. When we're starting to talk about, what's the impact, not just in your neighborhood, but in your household, being able to critically think, being able to first agree on what the problem is, being able to unpack everything that you feel about the problem, right? It's no way for us to talk about the things that are critical in Baltimore without knowing that we're going to have to talk about the sticky stuff. We're going to have to talk about the stuff that, gets your head start moving, you're starting to sweat. This stuff is systemic. Like this is passion, this is emotion.
Yeah.
So how do you get into a room of people who have been impacted by the challenge to start talking about the problem so that we can get to a solution? Like we've all been in these conversations where like, yo, we keep saying the same thing. Like Delali brings up the point, how many more summers will we go through with Baltimore City Schools? We're like, oh, we need AC. How many more, how many more winters we're going to go through? Like, oh, babies need heat.
Yeah.
Just fix the shit. Like at this point, we're making it too complicated.
Right.
So Baltimore and Delight, because I get excited. It's teaching you how to critically think, shoulder that bias. Like, let's be real. When we come into some of these, it's some assumptions that we're coming to the table making. It's some bias that we're coming to the table feeling.
Sure.
How do you facilitate and convene conversations that are actually fruitful, that are healthy? Well, there's actually a process to working through problems. And I've adopted what we've done with Hack Baltimore to just with my own children. Like I have 3 boys. Like my oldest is 9, my twins are going to be turning 7. And people, the way that they treat children, or the way that society treats children, they're doing such a disservice to themselves. Because I've actually had to pull back as a mother and realize that, just because they're little, they're so much more open to what I've become jaded on. Yeah. So much, you give us so much more pure. Can I do a segue just to tell this quick little?
Absolutely.
Just to make the point though.
Absolutely.
Don't get mad at me. Go.
I ain't mad. Go.
No, go. Please.
I just should I? So. So Facebook does the a year ago today or 2 years, the little memory things, and a picture popped up with me, and at the time my son was 6, and we're in the car and we're driving back home from school, and he's telling me that he learned about Ruby Bridges in class, and he was saying, mommy, she's a Black girl, her mother, made her food and she was dressed so nicely, and the way that they were treating her and spitting on her, and mom, and he's talking like, baby, racism is alive and well. And he turned to me, he was like, what's well about it? And I was like, shit.
That's real.
Wow. Good point.
Wow.
Good point. So it's like, you can't, when you go through those type of things every day, with people who are 3, 5, 6 times younger than then shit. Okay, I'm sorry. I get excited because it just lets you know how much potential and opportunity and growth and everything that's coming behind us. But if we are not giving them the tools to be able to compete, I mean, look, the digital divide, they say right now, children that in Baltimore, like from Sandtown, Greenmount, West, they don't have the internet, right? So if you don't have the internet connection, they say children in Baltimore who do not have the internet are actually 2 years behind educationally than those that have access. So that made me go back in time to when Dionne was growing up. And I'm like, yo, where I was born wasn't even equipped. They weren't even equipped for my success.
Totally.
So it's to introduce an idea like this in a city like Baltimore, it is such a huge opportunity because there's a reason why they try to treat us like guinea pigs, because they know if you can address it in Baltimore, you can literally change the world. Like Baltimore is the perfect I don't know, it's like a control in a science test. Like we are the ones that have every pocket that you need. And that's why our name is always on the tip of people's tongues.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so interesting. A couple of things I heard was interesting. You were talking about the name, and it's funny because when I heard Hack Baltimore, I know that easily it could be like negative connotations, but I did think about life hacks. And it's like the thing about life hacks is just the ingenuity to, I don't need all the, most fancy resources or whatever. I can take what's in front of me and make it effective, right? And you know what I mean? Make my life easier with these hacks, right? So that's how I thought about it. And one of the things that you talked about was you all utilizing, what is it called? Design thinking. And, for all the places that I've been, the the cohorts that I've been a part of that talk about design thinking, right? The criticism is often that design thinking is not as rooted in science. It's anecdotes and it's, taking, people's perspective into the way that you're going about solutions. And I'm like, for me, that's common sense as a community organizer, right? As as an artist and creative, it's like the problem with the ways in which innovation happens in this country, or the way that in which technology is advanced in this country, is oftentimes it's not taking in consideration the actual needs, right? What we are actually trying to solve for. Instead, right? White privilege and white supremacy and racism suggest I can solve problems without asking what the problem is, right? I can create technology without really assessing what people need, right?
Which is silly.
Design thinking is, it's brilliant and common sense all at the same time. And so I think it's amazing that that's the framework that you all are using, that we have everything that we need in our communities to solve our problems. And technology is, as Delali put it, just an accelerator, right? You already got the information and the needs, but here's how we use this particular resource or technology to advance what it is you're trying to do. And I think that kind of framing is so important. And I think it could be transformative in our communities if that's how we approach our problems.
And I love what you're saying. What were you about to say, Delali?
Yeah, no, I think it's so important, right? And part of, I'd say another piece of what you just mentioned, not only is it just the design thinking part of it, but a lot of what we're pushing is let's get to solutions quickly, right? And it's okay if they're not right. Let's fail fast, right? And instead of us being in closed rooms trying to dream up the master plan, for a year and a half before we roll it out, and we got to go get someone new elected and go down to Annapolis and talk to city council, only to figure out that wasn't going to work. Let's test it out, right? And again, it doesn't have to be test as far as a petri dish in Baltimore in a bad sense. It's like, okay, cool, this is gonna work in Baltimore. All right, let's pivot. Let's figure out something new. Let's try this in order to find the right answer. So our big push is, from the first conversation, and when we start this whole concept of design thinking, within 2 to 3 weeks, we want something out the door that we can play around with, touch and feel, and like figure out if it works. If it works, let's build on it. And then let's build on it, and let's build on it. And let's keep going as a community together, and not just something that we're trying to deploy on the environment in general. One of our best use cases was with Dent Education, local shop in town. They work with a lot of inner city kids, and they teach a lot about social innovation, social entrepreneurship, teaching the kids how to start businesses, technology, all those types of things. And when COVID hit, they were really looking for ways to, for a lot of these kids, they're earners, right? They're trying to find ways to make money. How do they push their curriculum out? And so they said, all right, we're going to sell PPE. We're going to sell face shields, and let's figure out how to do it. And so they said, we're going to send the kits to the kids' homes. They're going to make stuff. They're going to make money off of every unit that they put together. But they didn't know how to scale the business, right? How are we tracking how many, who's buying what? Where's it need to go? How many this student is made? How much we sold this for? Who's the whole supply chain back end. So they came to Hack Baltimore and said, we need help on the tech side. So we were able to work with them, create a solution that worked with them. I think within 2 to 3 weeks, we had something ready that they could use. Train them on how to do it. They scaled it. They took it over. Let me tell you something. From day one, 3 to 4 months later, they have made $80,000 selling face shields in Baltimore. $80,000, right? And so you think about impact, right? And we didn't need 2 years of dreaming up how we're going to make this work, right? It was let's just add some fuel to what they're already doing, right? And help accelerate them, right? And so that's a lot of what we talk about, kind of just gems that are happening within Baltimore in general. And I'll take them a step further. Dionne said we're allowed to talk about it now, but
yeah, we can do it.
Recent press release.
Do it.
We had a partnership with Accelerate Baltimore. Accelerate Baltimore is part of ETC, the city's incubator. And so they've been growing tech companies for a long time. And they wanted to figure out how to be more civically minded and do more for Baltimore in general. We were kind of already in that space. So we struck a partnership with them. So, all right, we get that. We've learned a lot. And we're still learning a lot about how to work with the community and do it collectively and bring those lessons to bear. So as a part of this partnership, said, okay, we'll help to bring some people that aren't traditionally thinking about applying to Accelerate Baltimore. Because if you get in, you get $50,000, right? And again, a lot of the communities just were not connected to that, and just such a distant jump for them. We partnered with them, got folks excited about it. Dionne and her team just were amazing as far as kind of getting the word out on social media. They got, 85, 90 applications. Of them, Hack Baltimore said, okay, for a lot of these folks, you're talking about, you need a pitch deck, you need some tech, you need an MVP. And folks are saying, well, I don't know what any of that is, right? We got good ideas and we're hustling, but we need help. And so we partnered with them on the Hack Baltimore side, and we put out our own RFP and said, come to us, we'll pick a select few, and we're going to help you through this application process, right?
I love it.
We did that, got them ready. Of the 5 organizations that were selected for Accelerate Baltimore, out of almost 90, 3 of the 5 were from Hack Baltimore, and they're each getting a $50,000 check, right? And they can scale their business, right? And so Dent is one of them. Another one is Fight Blight. So Nika and her team that are doing awesome work around blight within Baltimore. They're one we've been able to support. $50K on the way to them. Another organization, Angel, that is working on something called equity and action score. And so for them, we think about, credit scores, right? Money doesn't move in this country without the credit bureau saying that you're worthy, right? But what does that mean for equity, right? Think about a stamp for equity for an organization that says, they've got equitable practices, and we've got a third party that's vetting that stuff. And, maybe I don't want to work for a company that doesn't have an equitable score above X or whatever. And so again, another organization that's made it through. So we're excited to partner with them. But again, a lot of what we do is just convening, helping to connect the dot and translating, just getting people in a room together that wouldn't be in a room together, and letting the magic that's already in Baltimore take place.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Jump right in, Easy. I was just about to ask you to say something.
I want to know a little bit more about Hack Baltimore's structure, right? Like, so you have a coalition. I've done a lot of coalition work, and I know that can be challenging as well. But you have like Delali, you're with Fearless. That's your organization, and it sounds like you have a coalition. How do you all navigate through that, and what's that structure like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah,
so,
go ahead, Dionne.
I'll start off. So yes, you're right. Like, we come in from different spaces. So Delali is CEO of Fearless. I'm the CEO and founder of Audacity Group. So Audacity is a brand and marketing shop, right? And Delali is tech. So we come on as chairs, and we really do bring our resources, our talent, our connections, or people to be able to facilitate the same challenges that we're talking about solving. Then, to your point, trying to build that coalition of volunteers, Hack Baltimore is actually creating the format to get people into the system that want to just be a part. How do you onboard them, connect them to a challenge, and actually be able for them to move without constant touch points from, Hack Baltimore organizer. That way, what happens is that we can start doing Hack Baltimores. You can call it whatever you want to, but it's all over the city and then throughout major urban cities. So we're creating this playbook. We're starting from scratch, and everything is being built as we're going along and being piloted and recorded so that we can actually provide it to others. Like, hey, easy. You've already been out here doing the work. You're making social impact. We have ways to get a team, behind you. This is how you play. And then, easy, go ahead and go. Go ahead, Delali.
Yeah, I'll just say, right, Baltimore does not have a shortage of like assets and amazing things and amazing people and amazing organizations that are doing work on the ground in every single sector. That's not Baltimore's problem. Baltimore's problem is it's enough people don't have the job that have to glue it and connect the dots, right? Hack Baltimore is the glue. We're the convener. We want to help to stitch together pieces that are already happening, that are already doing great work across the city, and create a framework where we know, okay, organizations, 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, they own this lane. These groups of organizations, they own this lane. Let's connect the dots and have some accountability across the board. So if you run a marketing company, right, or ad agency, like that's Dionne's world, don't do something different. Bring that to the table. Do that for the city within Hack Baltimore. I run a tech company. That's what we bring to the table. If you're a real estate shop, cool, bring some real estate. But our whole push is whatever it is that you're already doing, that's your superpower, right? That's what you have. That's your capability. Bring that, and let's just all work together more collaboratively. And that's the glue that Hack Baltimore is trying to bring to the table, to say, let's all bring our talents. We don't want to own it. It's nothing to do with Dionne's face on the front page or my face on the front page. It's about, let's elevate all the good thing that's already happening here and connect the dots, because we're most interested in just solving the problems and keeping innovation moving.
I love it. I think the thing that's so important for us to recognize is, for those of us on this call, and again, if you're just tuning in, this is the show about tomorrow, where we discuss the future of the Black family in Baltimore. We have Dionne, Delali here from Hack Baltimore. Of course, we have our host, Lady Breon Easy Jackson here. When people say they love Baltimore, I think we sometimes have really dove ourselves into love being an emotional exchange. Love is an action word. And so when we say we love Baltimore, we have to then sober ourselves up around what next steps, what official, tangible, rubber meets road actions can we implement and I'm thankful just for this moment. I'm blessed and feel fortunate to even be on this call with you four brilliant minds, and everything that you're individually doing for the city. Delali, your organization; Fearless, your organization; Audacity, Dionne, and the Black Arts District with Lady Breon; Epic Fan with Easy, and all of the movements that Easy have been a part of. How can we now, because I'm hearing the tone in your voice, Delali and Dionne, talk about the forward progress, the forward motion. What can we do today that really begins to set us up to dispel and dismantle some of the systemic issues that we see holding this great city back?
I'll jump. Go ahead. Nope, I did it the first time. Go ahead, Delali.
I like you talking first, and I steal all your stuff, and I get to I say it again in my own words. I think a lot of what we can start to do is first, I believe it's really a look on the inside, right? What is it that you already have that you can bring to the table, right? So often I think we tie it to, oh, we got to wait till we have the right official in office, the right person in power, or the right connection. And we're always waiting for somebody else to fix it for us, right? And we need someone else to come save the day. But I think the very first step is, what is it that I have? Whatever gift that I have, whatever talent, whatever ability that I already have, that's kind of the first piece. And knowing that you can contribute, and that contribution is needed, it's wanted, it's desired, and it can help move the city forward, I think is, in my mind, part of the first step. Yeah. I think the second step really is figuring out, what organizations that already exist, because we have lots of great ones already, right? We don't need to start a million new ones, right? How can you provide your energy and that, whatever it is, that gift we talked about, apply that to one of those people that are already doing great work and like help accelerate them. Instead of, we've got 10 people struggling to get to, use a baseball analogy, to first base, right? Why not go to somebody who's already on first base? Say, all right, I can help you get to second, right? Or I can help you get to third. I can help you score, right? Instead of everyone starting, everyone struggling with the same things, how do we connect these resources so we can all do more together?
Yeah.
I want to add on one more thing is I was actually going to ask Lady Breon earlier when you gave the definition of design thinking from your standpoint. I'm like, that right there, can I get that recorded so that I can share it? Because I think that society, when we start talking about influencers, it has gotten so much to, oh, I need to have like the blue star, the blue check mark. That's not it. And in Baltimore, just because of the makeup of our city, I tell my son, it's no 6 degrees of separation in Baltimore. It's about a good 1.5, 2, maybe. And just because of that, people just talking about what they're doing is helping us to raise awareness. The fact that Lady Breon can talk about design thinking in a way that doesn't seem like, oh, she doesn't seem scared of it. This doesn't seem like something that is over her head, above her pay grade, something that she shouldn't know about. As we're out in the community, like before COVID hit, I remember we were at it was like a mayoral forum at Morgan, and it was what was it, Urban League, Greater? Yeah, they hosted, at Morgan State, and they actually had all of the candidates were running. So it was like 50 people on the stage, so like everybody came out. And we were there on purpose. We weren't there to talk to the candidates. We were there to talk to the people that were coming out to talk to the candidates, because we're like, look, I get it. Leadership is very, very important. But what is it that you're doing, right? Yeah. And it was an older gentleman who was like, sweetheart, I don't know nothing about, no tech. I don't know nothing about, computer or anything. But we started talking about what's happening in his community. And he just says, I don't understand what why they don't want to talk about what's happening. Don't want to snitch. There's got to be a way for me to, tell you that the guy was running down the street without putting my family in danger. It has to be an anonymous way to do that. And I was like, see, just you suggesting that. We wind up talking to State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. She's like, look, we're trying to work these things out. If you got an idea, let's go ahead and hack it. So now for the first time, we actually have a group that's not trying to get the credit. We're just trying to convene the people, connect the right people in the room to actually create the solution. So I would say, talk about it.
Yeah.
That's why I was so interested in knowing the structure, because a lot of coalition work in the past in the city, often to its detriment, falls apart because certain people want certain credit. Certain people want to be like, the flagship or whatever. And when those disagreements happen, the organization falls apart. And the people who can benefit from it end up losing out on the end. I think that's one of the historic problems that we've had in the city, that there's always good people doing good work, and you get to a point where, somebody's not happy, somebody's disgruntled, and then that whole thing is just gone.
Ego.
Yeah, ego, exactly. We talk about, the 300 men movement, right? A couple of years ago, there was like all these brothers coming together. We were with 2 or 3 years in a row, we marched from Milton to Hilton on North Avenue. Young brothers were starting to get, different kind of trainings and stuff like that. There was even like brothers meeting up to go work out. And then, something happened and that fell apart. But I love hearing this idea that, we have all these forces coming together, but we're all just Hack Baltimore. And, it's about the people of Baltimore getting the glory. I just wanted to add that in there. That really gives me some inspiration. I also know that I missed the last one I think I was invited to. So I will make sure I'm
always on the list
for whatever next one y'all have.
Can I?
That's
Go ahead.
Nope, you can go. No, I was just gonna say, because I didn't want to shift the conversation, but I was gonna say, one, this is recorded and shared. So if you want what I said about design thinking, just let me go back and listen to what I said so I can remember, and then we can set for and take it and use it however you need.
Take the sound bite and just
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It when you said that, it led me to a question, and I was curious. Right, I am a performing artist, right, an arts administrator. That's my work. Creative organizer, like that's my thing. That's my jam. And I'm wondering, oftentimes when people talk about art and culture and entertainment, they put it in its own box, and it is not connected to anything else. It's like art is for art's sake. And people don't connect art to the ways in which it can move social movements, right? The way that in which it can play a part in architecture and design. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that I think art and culture and entertainment can be a part of, but people are like, no, it's its own thing. So in thinking about the tech field, in thinking about Hack Baltimore, my question is, how do you feel that Hack Baltimore could benefit the creative industry in Baltimore, whether it's, art, entertainment, culture, or how can art, entertainment, and culture benefit Hack Baltimore? That was my question.
Yeah, I'll talk to that a little bit. I think it's important that arts and so many things are part of the puzzle, right? When you think about technology, right? People just assume, well, I'm not a developer. I don't know how to make websites. I don't know how to make apps. So therefore, I can't be part of the solution. But I mean, to create any solution, right? There's so many people that have to be part of that, before you get there, right? Yes, there are the developers, but there's also designers, people that are working on design. There's user researchers, community work that has to happen, and say, how do we get who are the right people in the community that need to be there? How do you bring to the table, make sure they understand the process, what's going on. You need people that can project manage and make sure a thing actually kind of gets done, people that can help fund for it, right? So there's so many pieces that are part of the equation. And then in any of those fields, right, you got to have, who are the subject matter experts, right? And those are people that are on the ground that are most impacted, right? So if we're talking about housing, right, we can't move unless we have the housing folks at the table, right? The people that understand that, the Nikas and the Fight Blights kind of the world, right? They can bring that knowledge and expertise. And so to your point, everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play, whether it's, bringing a challenge to the table, but design and art, all of that is huge, right? I mean, there's people and psychologists and all those who think about, how is this going to be received, right? You can build a bomb solution, right? But people are like, this is surveillance. I don't want anything to do with it, right? And so there's so many different skill sets that are needed to bring anything to market. So we welcome all of them. All of them are part of the solution, and we want all of them at the table.
I love it. I love that, man. I think that the conversations, and I think one of you guys said this, the conversations are cool to have, but we now have to take those conversations and bridge them into the work of action. And so having Easy's doing this with his Epic Fam movement for the artists in the city, bringing them together in a collective, is keeping people from feeling isolated. And really sounds cliche, but I mean, it's really strength in numbers. And if you have like-minded folks coming together to work together, even if they may have separate entities or organizations or groups or corporations or businesses, but common goals, let's always be on the search to find a commonality. I think that for us, I call it a little big city like Baltimore. Because we feel, folks look at us in a particular way, and it can feel big to those of us born and raised here. I'm from Edmondson Village. Going from the west side to the east side as a kid seemed like a field trip, right? When I was a young kid, going to see my homeboys on the east side, if I was dating a girl on the east side, like to go on the east side on a bus, or to take that subway from, the west, from Rogers Station or Cold Spring, to go all the way down to Johns Hopkins or Shot Tower, felt like a journey. And then it felt like an even more journey as to go across the bridge, Hanover Street Bridge, to get to Cherry Hill or get to Westport, or to get to Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods, but we're not even as big as Brooklyn. It's only 600,000 people in Baltimore. So it always humbles me, and I'm always talking about it because I want the rest of us to humble ourselves. Cause it's so small, so much power in this. We're a port city, we're a city on the water. It's so much beauty here. Let's capitalize on this and stop wasting a bunch of time with rhetoric, and let's bust up some of the old guard of government, not with militia, not with anger, not with malice, with love, with unity, with the breath of, every person having their own experience. Let's bring it together to figure out how we can get things moving for the sake of the children. You said a powerful thing, Dionne, that the generation before us seemingly, I say that word purposely, seemingly did not spend enough time caring about the seeds that were being sown into the next. I can see from all of us, the age group that we're in, we all are products of a crack epidemic, Baltimore and country, right? 80s, early 90s. And look at what those seeds of discourse have brought us in a city like Baltimore. We're still trying to fight our way out of that hole of what has been planted before. And now what we're all doing is we're enlightened, but we're not mobilizing enough.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go back to the movements of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, whether you talk about civil rights, whether you talk about Nation of Islam, whether you talk about even the Black Panther, whether you talk about the movement that happened in California with the love movement coming out of peace and love. And like, we have to go back and learn from our folks that have gone before us on how to take all of our brilliance, all of our ingenuity, all of our innovation, all of our lessons, all of our movements and heart, and put it together and mobilize it to really get something done. And that's what's really exciting me about Hack Baltimore, and also with Black Arts District and Epic Fam and even Fearless Audacity, is that this is a good time. Like, the revolution must be televised. Go ahead, Dionne, you go.
No, because I'm like, I'm looking at the time.
No,
Burn.
Go, say something about that.
But it's so, I could go on for hours. So I'm like, okay, Dionne, you got to just leave with one point.
No, I love it.
So how about this? The point that I'm going to stop on is what I've been talking to my friends about, and they've been laughing for the last 5 years. I really do believe that those of us that were born in the 80s, late 70s, it's on us. Yeah. And I am on this wave, this mentality. I'm trying to bring the 90s back. I'm not saying that all of the 90s was perfect, right? But there was this fight. Remember, it was the African emblems, the Howard University, the Morgan State, there was Different World, Cosby Show, like before all the shit went, whatever. But there was in that period of time when we came to be, because again, happy belated birthday to you. I turned 40 in April, and this is happening during a global pandemic. Yeah. And I found that to be so interesting because I actually feel like we're entering into shit, it's on us. Yeah. When virtual learning turned into my husband and I literally being responsible for our son being able to read, period, that's when I realized it is on. We're the ones that can sing the Different World theme song from beginning to end. There was a reason that my mother had me memorize it, because the words were saying something that she wanted to be planted in my brother and I. We need to, so now I got my children watching Family Matters. I got them watch. We have got to repeat these things because they're not seeing the ones that are coming after us. I was raised around aunts and uncles. I was raised around my grandparents. I had to, if I wore pants to church, oh Lord, like the whole thing. But these were, I didn't realize that these were values that were being planted in me. And we are not instilling those values in the generation to come. So I feel like we got to look.
It's too flexible. What we've been teaching at Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, we've been teaching in our leadership trainings now for about 4 years. I've been teaching a crew of artists and creatives and teaching them that true creativity exists within inside structure. What we've done at the end of the 90s going into 2000s, and we've gotten all willy-nilly in that no structure and be yourself and everything, and it's all of this pushing folks to go with their first instinct and not to sit with things for a season and have a track record. And true creativity exists within inside structure. True flexibility exists within inside structure. The bird is beautiful in the air, but we're not going to see it swimming underneath the water. Right. Just as beautiful as we see an orca or a shark or a dolphin in the water, we won't see it flying in the air. Everything has its place. Cars go in the garage. Your clothes hang in the closet. right? Everything has an order. The reason why that goes is so that things can move and progress.
Correct.
And what you're speaking of, Dionne, is an experience of structure and morals and values being instilled. And I think we've gotten away from that because there's a lot out there for us, and we have to go to a place of really piecing things together to get it to move.
Technology is designed by the creator.
Yeah.
So you need to understand, what is that creator's values, right? So you have something like Citizen, an app that helps you to, know if there's crime or something that's happening, and you know how to avoid it. Well, before that, it was called Vigilante. And the idea was to be able to know if a crime was happening so I can go and jump into it, right?
Right.
Again, so that's Zimmerman versus officer safety. But it's the technology is the same. It was the creator. It was what I intended for it. And that's what we need to understand right now. The power is in our hands. And Hack Baltimore is trying to convene all of that power together so that we can really make some sustainable change in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can bust it up. Go ahead, Delali, and then Easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's so huge. I'll give a little story. You talked a lot about kind of unity and bringing people together kind of in this moment. I was part of a group of leaders with the Baltimore Metropolitan Council that went down to Nashville last year. So they go to different cities and pick up, what's working, what's not, what can we bring back to the city and to the region. And Nashville has done a really good job of trying to brand their city as Music City, right? And so the people that did that were kind of given their, story of how they got there and all that. I mean, you go to Nashville, it's music in the airport, it's music on the streets, right? It's everywhere, right? But it was intentional. They were all really intentional about building that experience and why people would come there. And I can't remember who it was, but someone in the group had asked them and said, how'd you get, so many egos, how'd you get, everyone to be able to come together and like pull this off? And the guy was telling a story. He said, ultimately, what we decided was we just got to win, right? Let's come together and win first. We can fight about the scraps later, right? And it was like, let's just make the city and the region rise. And at the end of that, then we figure out what happens. But for now, we're going to unite on these values and kind of push it forward. And so I'm excited about kind of hearing about, what's happening in the city. And again, that's really our perspective. Let's just win, right? Let's just win. Let's come together. No, my name to be out front. We are together as a group. Hack Baltimore. The whole city is Hack Baltimore, right? And let's just win. Let's just win. And we'll figure the rest out as we get there.
Well, I certainly want to volunteer, our organization, LTYC, Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, to be a part of anything that you guys are doing with Hack Baltimore. I think the first step that we can really do to get things going is with Fearless, with Audacity, with Hack Baltimore, with Epic Fan, Black Arts District, LTYC. I think at 1:54 p.m. on this Saturday, I think we've all decided that it's time for us to come together with some action on some things ASAP. This month, what can we begin to do together to impact, and again, it's all of us in our own journeys, being representation of the folks that raised us, the folks that taught us, the folks that gave us opportunities, because that's important too. Honor goes a long way. That's another thing, Dionne, that the generation we're missing instilling in our kids that we're raising is honor. We're okay with them being dishonorable to the movements, the causes, the people that have paved the way. Our generation, we're going to know all those important names.
Names matter. Your name mattered.
Yeah. And we need to get that back. And a part of it is not waiting for someone else to do it, not waiting for elected officials, not waiting for religious leaders, not waiting for the folks that make the most money in business in the town and around the town, not waiting for the leading private employer in the state, Johns Hopkins, not waiting for these entities to give back or these people to make a step. We got to be the change we wish to see in the world. And so, I think that's a real important place. I'm gonna start with some closing statements with Easy, then Breon, and come back to you guys, and we're ready to wrap up.
Yeah, I'll just echo what you said, Demel. I was just going to actually say, a lot of what we're talking about on this call, Epic Fam, our record label we started this summer, Demel and I, a lot of these things have been happening, and I just think it's a kismet theme to have this conversation with y'all today, because, even working with artists this summer, it's been wonderful for the most part. But me and Demel have both had, situations where certain artists were not comfortable with a structure being presented. You know what I mean? And once you talk them through it and understand what the end goal is, they're okay. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, but people are always not used to change, and but with all of this, I think that Epic Fam would fit perfectly in whatever Hack Baltimore is doing. So I'm also offering, our our bodies as a part of this, because I'm just really inspired by it, and I want to thank both of y'all for taking leadership on it.
Yes.
Absolutely. I want to echo what's already been said. I think this conversation was so fruitful and so amazing. And I learned a lot, and I'm certainly inspired. I as the executive director of the Black Arts District, I want to also say that we are certainly interested in connecting and being a part of the Hack Baltimore movement. I think for us, we're really trying to think through how community development is possible without gentrification, and how can we capitalize on the rich legacy in West Baltimore as it relates to Black excellence in art and entertainment, and how can we, Delali, you talked a lot about there not being enough organizations that exist as the glue. And for us, as the Black Arts District, right, we know that there are so many Black creatives all across Baltimore City, but there are not enough institutions that stand and advocate on behalf of the collective of Black artists and entertainers, right? Who is raising the resources for, who are connecting us, who are creating platforms so we can exist as our best and highest selves. And so that's what we are at the Black Arts District, really new organization with big dreams, hopes, and aspirations. And I feel like being connected to the Hack Baltimore network can definitely be a benefit to us and our artists. And so I also offer that, we're down and we're excited for all the amazing things that y'all are going to be doing.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for looking in on us today. That was Lady Breon. We had Easy Jackson. Special shout out again to Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, our leadership there, Executive Director Dana Carr for allowing us to do this today. Mr. Richard Norman, CEO of the Martin Pollock Institute, leader of the Legacy Alliance. We're working with Morgan State University School of Urban Social Work. Want to give a shout out over there to that crew. Afro Paper, and our executive producer, Mr. Brian Greenspan Dawkins from Baltimore with Love. Special shout out to his work in unifying us today and keeping us going. I want to let you guys close out. Dionne, Delali, please let all the folks paying attention and those that will via the recording, where can they get to you at Hack Baltimore website, social media? Let them know how they can be a part of the movement.
You do it, Delali. I've been talking a lot.
So you can get to us on on the web, hackbaltimore.io. Again, that's hackbaltimore.io, and at Hack Baltimore on everyone's social media. So Dionne and her team, they run that. It's out there, easy to get plugged in, figure out ways to volunteer. So yeah, check us out at hackbaltimore.io. And at Hack Baltimore everywhere. I do want to leave folks with one thought before Dionne closes this out, and it really is, we're not suggesting, Hack Baltimore is the end all be all. You've got to be in, right? And that's not the message for today. It really is, encouraging people to really get involved and get off the sidelines. Like at this moment now, we're talking about, COVID, we're talking about, all the conversations around George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. And there's the moment that's right now. And we can't afford for people to be on the sidelines. And so this really is our time to step in and get into the game and bring your resources to the table in order to make change. And our moments here, people are watching, people want to help, they want to contribute, and we just need some folks to connect the dots and really, really move things forward. So we're excited to hear from you guys.
I mean, it's overtime. So I'm, hey, thank you. But just to know this, look, people know me most, I guess, by the hashtag #MyBeMore. The mentality between that hashtag #MyBeMore was the fact of Baltimore literally tired of this whole underdog narrative, right? There needed to be a time for us to step in the middle of that ring and crown ourselves as king and queen. Like, just take it. And once that message, I don't know if it was like this thing of permission, but once that message went on, it was self-empowerment, and it continues on today. Hack Baltimore is no different than that. It is on us. No one tells our story better than us. So tell it. And that's what we're doing now.
The show about tomorrow, beautiful people. We always discussing the newest. You're rocking with the best in urban and pop and promotional progressive culture in Baltimore City. We're talking about the future of the Black family. Thank you for tuning in today. Be well. Peace.